So now we are a new section of MoveCon, and we are on the panel section. And we're on the first panel, which is the Advanced Concepts and Innovations in MoveLang. And on this panel are Hai Chao from Rooch, Wolfgang from Aptos, Todd and Cameron from Miston Labs, and Joshua Topkin, co-founder and CEO of Supra, will be the moderator of this panel. And I would like to welcome Josh to the stage and also our other panelist. Welcome, Josh. I will hand you the mic.
Really great to be here. Wonderful panels by both Sam, Dr. Joshi, Wolfgang. It's really exciting to see that Move is evolving. I came across Move, must have been late 2019, early 2020, back when it's being worked at Facebook or Meta. And I just intuited that this is going to be very important for the blockchain ecosystem. We have seen billions of dollars of hacks in the last several years. It's been actually quite absurd. And I believe, and I think most of you here believe, that for blockchain to truly go mainstream, it needs to be safer. So the work that's been pioneered by the folks here, straight up from the Miston team, the Aptos Labs team, is remarkable. And Supra, as a very research-oriented organization ourselves, have a lot of respect for the work that you have brought to the world. And we think that this is going to be huge. And it takes some time. We have to have patience and foresight. But I do believe that Move will have significant adoption over these next few bull runs, this one, the next one. And I think what's going to happen is this will be the preferred programming language of folks that are coming in from Web 2. So with that said, let's jump into this. Let's start with introductions. So my name is Josh. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Supra.com. We went to market as an Oracle, utilizing layer 1 technologies to scale the Oracle problem. But what we're doing at Supra is actually much beyond that. And in fact, we have our core governance of the Supra network is built in Move language. We're very inspired and very much looking forward to contribute to the Move ecosystem. What I'd like to do is have each of you introduce yourself. Hi, Chao, maybe you can go first, and then Todd and Cameron. Wolfgang had already just done a wonderful presentation.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Joshua. Thanks so much for having us. My name is Hai Chao. I'm the co-founder and the CEO of the Rooch network. I was actually an employee at Aptos for 2 months, being a dev rel there before I decided to go ahead and start my, hello Wolfgang. Before I started to go ahead and start my own project and bring Move into more ecosystems. That's what we are doing right now. We are bringing Move language into the Bitcoin ecosystem, which is very exciting, and happy to meet you guys all here.
Maybe Todd, then Cameron can introduce yourselves.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Todd. I've been working on Move since late 2018, so it's been a while. I've been at Miston Labs for the past few years now, and we've working on all sorts of things. In the meantime, I guess in the past few months, we've been doing a lot of various compiler improvements, and we got some VM improvements cooking. That's where I'm at. I'll pass it over to Cameron.
Thanks, Todd. I'm Cameron. I actually have only been working on Move it'll be a year and just a couple months now, but I really like working on programming languages and runtimes and stuff like that. And when I heard what Move was about and what they were doing, it seemed really exciting. So I'm just really happy to be here, and I'm glad that I got turned onto it when I did, because it really does seem like a language that's ready to supplant what's going on right now in the ecosystem.
And Wolfgang, for some folks that maybe are joining the webinar right now, please do introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Wolfgang. I'm the tech lead of the Move platform at Aptos, and I worked for quite a while at Microsoft on Pome languages and formal verification. I worked at Google, I worked at Facebook, at Meta, together with Todd, where I worked on the Move program.
Okay, great. So for the format of this panel, I'm going to ask a question. I'll have each of you take a turn if you have something interesting to say, and let's jump into it right now. So the first question is, which recent development in the Move world are you most excited about? Maybe we can start with Todd.
Yeah, sure. We have a lot to pick from. I think that I'll probably say enums for sure. I just wanted to first say that we have this sort of blanket layer of features that are coming, and I don't think any one of them on their own is like really that. They completely change the way that you write code. They're just like small things that add up. They provide a better experience. But I think like enums is that one that stands out that does like fundamentally change the way you would write certain code, as Wolfgang was saying in his presentation. We've long said about upgrades that like are a really great area or solution for that area. And again, just small programming patterns like option, or just like sometimes you have one data type versus another and you need to put them in the same location. And those sort of patterns are just really difficult today in Move. And I'm very excited to see how people think about programming differently with that new feature unlock.
Yeah, what I love about what both your teams are doing and others are there's incremental improvements, which over time will start to really show major benefits. And that move to so on and so forth, this evolution is going to be more featureful. Maybe Wolfgang, same question. Which recent developments in the Move world are you most excited about?
Yeah, Todd already mentioned the enum stuff, and I'm on this totally same page. So we have been waiting for this for a really long time, Todd, right? And finally we get it. I want to add dynamic dispatch. I know that there was quite a long discussion about whether this should be a move or not, and the safety consideration, it was excluded for a while, but I think we can add it in a safe way, and it basically closes the gap, I think, compared to Solidity, and enables a lot of interesting scenarios and polling patterns, which we don't really know yet actually in detail how they will look like, but we do have some quite compelling use cases for stable coins and so on. That's why we added the first prototype of dynamic dispatch, which is already available right now. It's hidden somewhere in the runtime. It's not full function values, but it was really there because customers required that feature. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm also pretty excited about what we are doing around together with our blockchain team, aggregators, which is really cool stuff. And the recent work on randomness. So that is so difficult, you wouldn't believe it. So you think random, that should be easy, but unbiased and safe randomness on a blockchain is a real difficult problem. And I'm really excited that we have a solution here.
That's right. On-chain randomness, for those that don't know, it's an esoteric topic, right? Blockchains are orderly, perfect order. To bring chaos and unpredictability to the blockchain is actually a very interesting philosophical kind of topic, actually. We at Supra are very deep in that topic as well. Haichao, what about you? What is your favorite, most exciting thing that you've been working on in the Move world?
I think from a bigger picture perspective, I've seen a lot of projects just like us trying to bring Move language to other ecosystems other than Aptos and Sui. Although you can't deny that Aptos Move and Sui Move are still the pioneer, and they are making a major contribution to the Move language at the moment right now. And the rest of us, we are mostly just users, try to apply this language to different application scenarios. For us, but in terms of Rooch, we're making some modifications to Move as well, but it's really just for solving some of the practical problems that we meet when we're trying to bring Move into the Bitcoin ecosystem. We added a few annotations, such as private generic and the data struct. But really, I think I'm excited to say what's coming next on both Aptos Move and Sui Move. We're definitely going to be still evangelizing all these features to our users and the bigger community.
That's right. So for the folks that are not so familiar with Rooch, they're a Bitcoin layer 2 running the Move lane. So this is very exciting because even the notion of a Bitcoin layer 2 is radical. Cameron, what about you? What's your most exciting thing in the Move world?
So actually, Wolfgang stole mine. I think the way that we're handling randomness is super exciting. Like the idea of having actual proper randomness on chain enables so much additional behavior, right? Suddenly you can start building your games right on the chain in a way that you couldn't before, that you had to rely on some secondary mechanism. But other than that, the other thing that we've added recently, and Aptos has a similar version, is the macros or inlineable functions, which allow something that look like higher order functions without needing them. And it allows you to reuse syntax in various places as part of your development process without having to write that code over and over. And I think, for example, we've even been using it to rewrite some of our test suites just to take all those cases we were writing by hand and now just generate them. And that sort of power for a programmer is really nice because it gives them a shortcut to building the tools they need.
That's great. Yeah, so once again, we are also in the same boat in terms of on-chain randomness. So we've been early pioneers as well in this field. So moving forward to the next thing, the next question here, of the most exciting kind of features in your respective ecosystems, or even across other ecosystems, what are the most interesting projects that have been most creatively utilizing these new features of Move? Maybe you can describe the project and what they do and how they might be utilizing some new innovations. We can start with, any of you can go first for this one. Maybe Todd, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I was just trying to think. So we had a hackathon not too long ago with Overflow, and I'm trying to think back through specific examples there of things to highlight. I saw like a smattering of a few different things, and like some of the features that we've been talking about are like when it comes to enums that haven't quite launched yet, like something I'm excited for, but we haven't been able to see them yet. It was very cool to see people using various like small features that we have put out, the method style syntax or index syntax. But in terms of, I'm trying to just remember of like more like fundamentally different ones. There was one, at least a little less on the Move side, but related of just like some zero knowledge stuff going on in both Sui and Move. That was very interesting, like being able to build an asynchronous like trivia game using zero knowledge proofs was quite interesting. I know not quite a Move feature, but it's something that was like sticking with me from the hackathon. Yeah, I'll go, if I think of anything else, we can move on to someone else. I can come back.
Sure. So the question once again is, which projects do you think are using these novel new features most creatively in your respective ecosystems? Whether they're live or tested or just anything that you think is interesting, I think it would help developers get some context as to what are the new things that the Move language ecosystem is able to do that maybe we weren't able to do last year. Anyone have any other examples here?
Yeah, I could mention, which is related to the aggregators in our parallelization implementation in block STM. For example, the Konya project is one of our major partners, and so they are really they're basically doing finance solutions, and they have some kind of DEX-oriented thing which they do there. And the interesting aspect here is that so they really require dynamic parallelism. It's not statically determinable because they have basically a list of clients they deal with, and which client they need to act on is basically not statically determinable. So they need both this aggregator stuff I was talking about and the underlying block STM, and they can now execute transaction really lightning fast because of this parallelism in our blockchain. Another use case is the randomness. I don't know the name of the companies, but we do have collaboration between gaming companies which want to work on Aptos, and indeed waiting for the randomness. So if you can imagine that for any kind of gaming application, you need randomness. So that's a very cool feature with a lot of applications, I think.
That's right. So just for folks to wrap their head around it, real true end-to-end latency in blockchain is from the time a client submits a transaction to the network, it gets ordered through consensus, and it gets executed. So parallel execution, if you have an efficient strategy, will cut down the end-to-end true latency. As you also mentioned, Wolfgang, the on-chain randomness, a lot of on-chain blockchain games, which could be a major adoption, a means in which we go mainstream and bring millions of users to blockchain rails, right? These games where you have in-game assets and NFTs, and sometimes these NFTs need random attributes. Sometimes you need to have on-the-fly a scenario, situation development. It could be just the way that the game behaves. It could be loot boxes, lotteries, etc. Many systems actually require randomness to do things. Yes. Hi, Chao and Cameron. What about you guys? Anything you want to highlight?
To us, it's not about discovering new features because we are not that advanced in terms of using or contributing to the development of Rooch to the Move, but it's still the feature that benefits us the most is still the object model, because we are facing a different challenge here. We need to process a whole new category of assets in a Bitcoin ecosystem here. We have something called client-side validation assets, which basically a type of assets that it doesn't rely on a smart contract to verify it, but to rely on the client to do their own validation. And the best way to process this is still through the object model, and that is why we, at the same time, we want to have the benefit of the account model. So we did something, try to simulate an account model out of the object model. That's something we did for solving our practical problem. That's that, and also we have some other features on the framework level, such as abstracting the address and to map it to the beacon address. And these are all something that could be useful if anyone else in the Move ecosystem may need something similar. You can refer to our repo. That's pretty much it.
Very nice, very nice. And Cameron, did you want to add anything here?
I think Todd mostly covered it. I was just going to say, even as we're rolling this out internally, right, I think we've started to see impact. And so hopefully, as these things are rolling out still, because we're in the middle of adoption, hopefully we'll see that more concise code that both Wolfgang and Todd talked about. And like I was saying earlier, when we redid the framework test, it went from pages and pages of code down to a quarter of that or something, just because of a few extra features. And as Todd mentioned, they start stacking on each other, and then suddenly the language feels very mature.
Yeah, what's really nice is we have different teams attacking these or improving the language from different angles, with different insights, and collectively contributing, and different ecosystems can benefit from other people's insights. Okay, wonderful. So let's move forward here. Let's talk about the kind of major issue in blockchain, which is safety, right? We've had ridiculous situations. Most of them were in the EVM world. And Move has a promise to mitigate many of these problems. So how have recent safety-related enhancement in Move improved the security and reliability of smart contracts? We know maybe Wolfgang can jump in here, because the topic of dynamic dispatch is a touchy topic, right? Because that's where the DAO hack in Ethereum occurred, so on and so forth. But we'd love to hear your point of view here, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah. As there was recently with Viper, I think in the last year, in September or so, a $75 million accident, so to say, or exploit, which were basically a broken reentrancy lock in the language implementation of Viper. And this just reminds us how important that is if you have reentrancy, which currently Move doesn't have, but which we will get if you add that dynamic dispatch we are talking about, that you have a really well-audited core implementation of preventing reentrancy, which we are planning for dynamic dispatch. Another thing I want to say, if it comes to safety, we also we fully verified or formally verified the Aptos framework and major finance protocols running on Aptos. Part of that work was, by the way, outsourced and done by MoveBit, which is, you may know, is one auditing and security and safety and software development country operating for mainland, I think, or I don't know where they're actually located formally, but they did a lot of specification work, which was very valuable. And it actually discovered really serious bugs in our own framework. Now, for example, we had a deadlock in our reconfiguration logic that could be really bringing the blockchain down, which formal verification discovered. So I think that's a nice example also of what Saurabh was talking about, how powerful these techniques can be compared to testing. And at Aptos, also when it comes to dynamic dispatch, we will be adding specifications to function types, so you can reason about those function values, and then you can only instantiate a dynamic dispatch function with a function which satisfies the specification. So formal verification will help us to also make that feature safer than it can be in any other language. Something happened with the internet?
I think we might have lost Joshua.
Let's, I think, maybe just continue.
Yeah.
Todd, you next.
Sure. I don't know, Cameron, if you had anything. If not, I can hop in. I was just going to mention some interesting things we've been doing recently with testing. Just in terms of like some of the features that again that have launched so far are maybe like less safety oriented and more for ergonomics. And I just wanted to call out some of the things we've been doing for testing that are, I think, going out this next week or this week. Just like the ability to have more randomized tests, like providing, sometimes it is difficult to come up with your own cases. It's not quite as advanced as, say, something like prop tests in Rust or quick check in Haskell. It doesn't do the narrowing quite aspect of it. But it has been quite helpful just in terms of giving you like a wider breadth of test coverage, which is, I think, a nice feature. At least for me, I've been using it for just that sometimes very difficult. It's like I have to come up with like yet another address in my unit test. It's just nice to be able to say, give me a random one. So there's a sort of combination there of ergonomics and hopefully some better coverage.
Cameron, you can go first. I don't have anything to share on this topic, except that we are also working with MoveBit and rely on them for the security audit, and they're based in Hong Kong.
I was just going to say, so there are a few other things I feel like we've been doing for some safety related stuff, like all the lints we have in flight right now. We've actually adding a bunch of lints to the language, and it'll be nice to approach this problem from both sides, right? There's like this formal verification aspect, but now we're coming with random testing, with getting programmers to even stop writing that code in the first place via lints, stuff like that. So I'm really excited about some of those things that we're working on at Mistim as well.
Hey folks, sorry about that. The browser crashed on me. Must have been some sort of safety issue. Okay, so good to be back. Yeah, so let's move on to the next question here, which is in relation to instances where Move has presented a possible major issue with the deployed smart contracts, or if you have any instance where you have seen, hey, this could have gone really poorly, but Move caught it. If you have any instances like that'd be great to discuss.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mentioned it already when you were off, but I think a good recent example is the Viper reactancy bug, no? Which I think what Curve was hit by that, I believe, and 75 million were lost. No? And so this shows us a couple of things, basically. So first of all, no reactancy, or like we have today, or if you do reactancy, then do it very safe. No? That's very important. It also shows us, which is important for Todd and me as compiler developers, how critical, because it was a compiler bug, how careful we need to be if we extend the language. So to keep Move as safe as it is today, we need to be very careful when we add extensions, because there is always a chance that there are compiler bugs and they can hit you very much. No? In general, I want to say this is not recent because it didn't happen in the last couple of years, but the big thing of Move is basically the bytecode verifier. So there is no type confusion at runtime possible. Type confusion was a serious problem for the EVM. I think recently there weren't hacks around that, no? But it has been historically a big problem. And the other blockchain architectures, only Move has that runtime bytecode verification, which is a very essential part of the entire architecture. That only safe code, you can't, even if you create malicious code or your compiler has bugs, or there's still always this last instance of the bytecode verifier, which checks the type correctness and other aspects of your program and prevents fundamental exploits like type confusion and so on.
Got it. Does anyone else want to comment here?
Yeah, I just like really follow up with Wolfgang's point about the bytecode verifier. And it's not just, we like to all bash the EVM and Solidity, but I really think the bytecode verifier is a great example of you can't take like another, it's very difficult to take another language off the shelf and just try to like bolt on security aspects. Like Solana has Rust, and they have a bunch of frameworks and other tools that they try to add on top of it to provide security that you might not find if you were just programming in Rust natively. But it's not a silver bullet. Like they still have a long list of, they might have some type safety features from Rust. They still have a long list of potential exploits. I was trying to recall the exact list. That I believe it was from the auditing firm Slow Mist. They had a long list of known exploits in Solana, and I think it was like 26 of the 20 or 21 of the 26, like out of the box, were just like impossible in Move, just because of things like resource safety and just like really core fundamental like guarantees that we have in Move via the type system and the other safety guarantees that just make these sort of attacks impossible.
I think we're all looking forward to the day that Move is effectively like the WASM of Web3 and gets that kind of adoption, and it's just going to be a safer playing ground by and large. Since we are a bit out of time here, I do want to conclude with the final question, which is, besides adoption, how do you guys see Move language's capabilities evolving into the next year? What are some things in the pipeline that are exciting to you?
Yeah,
Um,
I could just
yeah,
just
go
one
ahead,
thing.
please.
So like back at Meta, maybe Todd remembers this also. We worked on something which is called async move, which is an asynchronous polling model for move. And that one I'm really interested. I hope we will see in 1 year from now on Move on Aptos. No? So it will allow you basically to split a transaction into many transactions or to have an endless job. The transaction schedules another transaction, etc. It also allows you to do cross blockchain polling, where you maybe have multiple. You may have heard about Aptos Ascent is a way that you can tailor Aptos for your particular company and run your own basically isolated chain on our services. But then you have the problem that you need to communicate between those various instances of the blockchain, and async move will also help there. So hopefully we're getting to there. I'm not sure, but that's one of my personal dreams to put on top of Move.
That's quite interesting. That should enable some interesting novel use cases. I'm looking forward to learn more about async move there as well. What about from the Missing Labs team and Sui? Anything in the pipeline that makes any of you particularly excited?
Go for it, Todd.
We've been talking a lot about the other features we've been rolling out right now, so I won't. We can reiterate that list again, but I think that just some other things we're refocusing on, and like earlier this year, we've been focusing more on source language and compiler improvements. I think going forward, we have an eye towards a bunch of VM improvements that I'm quite happy about or excited about. In particular, we have this programmable transaction layer of a way of like stitching together various move functions and primitives. And we have some new features coming in that area that I'm excited about. I think hopefully finally we'll have the ability to use references in that layer, which is not something you can really do today. Some of these are needed by the VM changes that we're doing later this year. I'll hand it back to Cameron in case I missed something that he's really excited about.
Yeah, something else I think is exciting is, and this is maybe more of a moonshot, but we've been talking about getting like first-class iterators in Move and what that would mean for looping constructs. And that's actually really exciting to me. And like I said, I don't know if it'll get done in the next 8 months or so, but it's definitely in the cards. And it's something that I'm personally really excited about because I think it'll really push programmability forward.
Wonderful. And Haichao, is there anything else that you want to share that might be unique to Bitcoin Layer 2s and the intersection with Move language?
Yeah, thank you. So just on top of that, I think besides the technical developments, the technical features, I think Move language to us is inherently a decentralized programming language, where it started with it's not initiated by a single chain, a single project, but it has a vast amount of builders and different projects adopting it from day one. I think this is something that we haven't seen in other programming language such as Solidity or SVM. So I think by this time next year, I would say what I want to say is that the Move language can surpass Solidity for sure, and also maybe be a match of SVM as well, and to get more adoption in the general Web3 space. And for us, we'll keep working on bringing a Move to the Bitcoin ecosystem and try to bring it to more ecosystem as well.
That's wonderful. I think that adoption is probably going to take some time. Good things take some time, but I think it's going to happen. It's going to be one of those things that folks that are very conscious about safety and security, and we're talking about digital value here, right? It's utmost important to make sure that these contracts are safe so that we can do onboard much more people, millions of people, if not billions eventually, right? So I think over the next several bull markets always bring, it spikes people's curiosity, and existing Web2 folks are going to come across Move and be like, I actually think this is a better language. And I tend to agree. So we're out of time. It was a wonderful discussion. Really great to meet you all. And let's get ready for the next thing. So thanks so much for your time, everyone. Thank you for joining us at MoveCon.